Welcome to the I Love CVille Show, guys. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live on every social media platform possible in Charlottesville, across the Central Virginia region, in the Commonwealth, across the world, in the country, on the I Love CVille Network. Today's show is going to make you uncomfortable. Today's show is going to be brutally honest. Today's show is going to be to the point. Today's show offers you, the viewer, you, the listener, an opportunity to engage with the program. Your thoughts, your comments, put them in the feed. We will relay them on air. There's a petition now circulating Charlottesville and Central Virginia for the removal of Nikia Walker from office. We will discuss that petition today. We will discuss the next steps for Charlottesville, Virginia, and for City Council. A joint statement from councilors Heather Hill, Lloyd Snook, Michael Payne, and Sina McGill is on the very near horizon. This morning, Nikia Walker threw Michael Payne under the bus. This morning, Nikia Walker essentially called Michael Payne yet another racist on council. We will discuss that topic today on the program. The last 3 or 4 days have been consumed with a lightning rod issue that is undoubtedly dividing the community. One person calls it art, one person calls it poetry. The majority of a 300,000 person region calls it divisive. A topic that's dividing instead of a topic that's magnetizing positivity within our community. I've had CNN reach out to me about talking about what's happening in Charlottesville. A candidate for governor, Peter Snyder, will join us on the show on Monday. We had a city councilor and Michael Payne booked for today's program. Michael, I have tremendous respect for him, one of the most intelligent people I know, someone undoubtedly committed to the best of Charlottesville and this fine municipality. However, the adversity too much for him today. At about 11 o'clock, I received a message from him saying he is not willing to face that adversity now on the show. 11 o'clock this morning. I'm going to ask questions like, what is next for our fair city? What should be done about this lightning rod issue that literally is global news? The Daily Mail now reporting this story. The Washington Post, Fox News, the Washington Examiner, Newsweek, the Associated Press, just to name a few. Watching the program right now, every media outlet in Charlottesville, Virginia, in fact, the Daily Progress and today's centerpiece story on the front page of the newspaper quoted the I Love CVille Show and what we had to say on Wednesday. Both TV stations, the Richmond Times-Dispatch and the local bureau of the Washington Post, tuned into the program as we speak. I'm going to ask questions that may make some uncomfortable, but it's that uncomfortability that we face first before we get to solutions and the path forward. Text message from David Toscano on my phone right here, former mayor of Charlottesville, former state delegate. David Toscano is going to be issuing a statement on his own very shortly. Just got that. By now you know of the poem. By now you know of the sexual imagery. By now you know of the violent rhetoric used that conjures so many images for so many people that have gone through sexual violence themselves. Imagery today that brings up emotions for people that they are working through themselves. By now you know that this community is vulnerable and fragile. As vulnerable and as fragile as it has been since August 12, 2017. Leadership is facing adversity face to face. Leadership is facing adversity with caution and confidence. Leadership is facing adversity knowing very well that fear is a normal feeling. Yes, I feel it. But to have a platform like this and to have the gifts of communication, I would be doing a disservice not utilizing the platform, this influence, and the gift of communication to relay to all of us what we are truly feeling. Please ask yourself these questions. Are you feeling angry right now because of what Mayor Nakia Walker did? Are you feeling frustrated? Are you asking yourself, what is going on? Do you wonder about mental instability? Are you asking, why do these troubles constantly lead to her? Are you asking, what's next from the mayor? Are you asking yourself, what can be done? What do we do now? Where do we go from here? Are these questions you're asking? Because they're questions most certainly I'm asking myself. Does anyone wonder why Councilors Lloyd Snook, Councilor Sina McGill, Councilor Heather Hill, and Councilor Michael Payne have said and done nothing so far? It's a fair question. Are you wondering that? Yesterday, in an open meeting, multiple people, taxpayers, citizens, folks that live in the community, asked council, what are you going to do about the mayor and the sexual and violent rhetoric she's utilizing to compare the city to, I'm not even going to use the words today. By now you know. I will not use the R word. I will not use the C word on today's program. By now you know. Folks are asking, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? The first step is a clear indication presented to council that we demand and insist upon change. Judah Wickhauer is our director. If you can get the petition on screen, please. There's a petition circulating Charlottesville as we speak, as I'm doing this show, asking for the removal of Nakia Walker from office. That petition you can find on social media quite easily. We will also put it on this feed. From a taxpayer standpoint, from a citizen standpoint, from folks that live in the region, and you don't even have to live in Charlottesville for this to matter to you. Your home values, your business, your quality of life, undoubtedly associated with this 10.2 square mile city that we call Charlottesville. You may say, I live in Louisa to boycott Charlottesville. Folks, Louisa is tied to the city. You may say, I moved to Fluvanna and I stay in Fluvanna because I'm boycotting CVille. Fluvanna is tied to Charlottesville. You may say, I stay in Albemarle County. I shop in Barracks Road. I shop at Stonefield and 5th Street Station. I will not enter the 10.2 square miles that we call Charlottesville. Albemarle County, you are tied to Charlottesville, Virginia. Nelson, Orange, Greene, Louisa, Fluvanna, all of you, 300,000 people are tied to what is happening in this 10.2 square miles, are tied to what is happening 300 yards from my building in City Hall. The first step as taxpayers, the first step as citizens, the first step as business owners, the first step as homeowners, the first step as renters, the first step as anyone living within the region is to showcase to 4 members on council who have said jack shit right now that enough is enough. Put the petition, please, back on screen. For those that have the petition, for those that have signed the petition, share it on Facebook now. Share it to your friends via text message. Email it to your friends. Richmond Times-Dispatch, Daily Progress, NBC 29, CBS 19, CVille Weekly, Charlottesville Tomorrow. There's the petition. This story is absolutely unfortunate. On Super Bowl Sunday, the mayor did a discombobulated diatribe on social media that was difficult to follow, confusing at best. And during this discombobulated diatribe, she threw a number of people in City Hall under the bus, leaked internal memos, all to save face. No one in Charlottesville, in Central Virginia, no one in the media would have learned of the credit card fiasco where she's paying citizens $25 an hour in gift cards to speak before council to support her ideas. No one would have known about this circumstance had it not have been for that Super Bowl Sunday Facebook Live. That's a fact. That's a fact. Now here we are, not even 60 days removed from Super Bowl Sunday. And yet again, a lightning rod issue. A lightning rod issue that has consumed the news cycle locally, consumed the news cycle regionally, consumed the news cycle nationally, consumed the news cycle globally. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And I see a cloud of smoke that I can't see through, I can't breathe. I'm struggling to find the North Star and the compass to make it through, but I am willing to help lead, and get through this devastation that we call the mayor of Charlottesville, Virginia. You can expect a joint statement from City Council in the near future. I hope that joint statement from City Council is much more than this. If that joint statement says, we do not condone this language and nothing more, then that joint statement is baloney. If the joint statement coming from City Council and the 4 councilors who have yet to speak on the record about this topic does not include proof of performance, proof of action of what they will do next to prevent this from happening again, then that joint statement is nothing but fluff and crap. Can I be any more clear than that? The Daily Mail, one of the most widely circulated and widely read publications in the world, has multiple stories about this on their platform. the Washington Post, arguably the second most influential paper in the country behind the New York Times, all over this topic. Let's forget local news. What happens to a region? I'm talking you, Albemarle. I'm talking you, Fluvanna. I'm talking you, Louisa. I'm talking you, Orange. I'm talking you, Green. I'm talking you, Nelson. What happens to a region when global and national publications have headlines that say the mayor of the town the region is built around and built upon is using sexually violent rhetoric when comparing the town she represents? I can tell you. I can tell you what'll happen. I can tell you what'll happen. It'll impact tourism. It'll impact jobs. It'll impact businesses, quality of life, the mood. What has the town and the region been talking about for the last 72 hours, my friends? One topic has consumed us all. And today, on the 26th of March in 2021, instead of talking about how Central Virginia, how Charlottesville, how Albemarle County, how Fluvanna, Louisa, Orange, Green, and Nelson have galvanized, have come together, have pursued vaccinations, have gotten on the other side potentially of a pandemic that we've never experienced or seen before, instead of talking positive of getting on the other side of COVID, with the second and third quarter and the fourth quarter of 2021 looking bright and prosperous. Instead of that, we're divided. We're hurting. We're crying. We're disturbed, disgusted, demoralized, depressed, downright downtrodden. Am I right? Some things I don't understand. A few for you here. I don't understand why a single elected official in Charlottesville has not issued a statement about this to this point. Can you answer me that? I don't understand how there are still supporters for this racially motivated rhetoric. Can someone please explain that to me? How can this racially motivated rhetoric from the top elected official in the community continue to have support? Please explain that to me. This morning, the mayor of Charlottesville, through what is arguably her last ally on the dais in Michael Payne, 100% under the bus. Judah, can you put her Facebook post on screen? I will read it verbatim for you. Michael Payne was an instrumental figure in Nakia Walker's campaign when she ran for election in 2017 under the moniker of Unmasking the Illusion. Michael Payne was part of the brain trust. Some have called the campaign manager of Nakia Walker. Today, this morning, earlier today, she says, and I quote verbatim. It's on screen. You can read it. For those that are listening on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, TikTok, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and every other social media platform in the world, here it is, verbatim. Michael Payne, you crossed the line when you forgot that being a counselor required you to do some work during your first year. Again, white fragility at its finest. CBS found two white men to critique me about the way that the white community has pillaged the black community. Anywho, Michael Payne, you're on the wrong side of history. The mayor just called her last ally on the dais a white privilege racist. It's interesting. Politics is as much action as it is perception. Politics is as much what have you done for me lately as it is what are you going to do for me tomorrow. Politics, action, policy, and getting stuff done needs things like a majority. There's 5 folks on council, 4 on one side of the fence, 1 on the other. Let's just talk common sense. From a common sense standpoint, does it make common sense to utilize a credit card issued by City Hall and funded by you, the taxpayer, you, the citizen, you, the resident, you, the business owner, you, the restaurant owner, you, the retail owner, you, the brewery owner, you, the winery owner, you, the B2B owner? Does it make sense from your standpoint that your taxpayer dollars were utilized to pay people $25 an hour, to pay them to speak in front of council to support your ideas? Does that make sense from a common sense standpoint or from a perception is right standpoint? I'm going to ask you that question. That doesn't make common sense to me. That doesn't pass my eye test. When I worked for the Daily Progress, when I worked for NBC 29, when I worked for Monticello Media, I had the opportunity to use a credit card or to have funds reimbursed by my employer. Media General, at the time of the Daily Progress, Monticello Media, George Reed owns those stations, NBC 29, when Harold Wright and Waterman Broadcasting owned the company. We had very clear understandings of what we could and could not do. Now, you can make a legitimate argument that Joe Plantania chose not to pursue charges against the mayor because the policy and the guidelines and the bylaws are so convoluted or so unclear that a case could not be made. And that is absolutely factually correct. However, from a perception standpoint, it reeks of rotten fish. From a perception standpoint, it reeks of a lack of common sense. From a perception standpoint, it reeks of paying people to come to meetings to support your ideas. None of the others on the dais have gone through that. Now let's further the common sense and perception is reality standpoint. On Wednesday, a poem that is about as short as a haiku utilized sexually violent imagery, so much so that Sarah, the Sexual Assault Resource Agency, went on the record opposing the mayor's language. We have nonprofits in the community that now have to go on the record before TV reporters and oppose the language of a mayor who is one of 5 people who help allocate taxpayer funding to nonprofits. Think about the catch-22. Think about the position the Sexual Assault Resource Agency was put in because of the mayor of Charlottesville. Think about it. They have to issue a statement to the media opposing the word choice of one of 5 people who determine funding for nonprofits. Think about the sticky position they were put in this week. Think about the sticky position all 4 counselors are in right now. Can you imagine being on the dais and having to ask yourself this question? Because these are what 4 people in this community are asking themselves right now. 4 people in this community are asking themselves this question. Are we going to be the 4 people in Charlottesville history who have to push the first elected black female mayor off the dais? That's what Councilor Hill, Snook, McGill, and Payne are emotionally and mentally battling as we speak. Will we be on the right or wrong side of history? Or is leadership speaking for the community in totality, facing adversity head on, not being afraid of the adversity? Being afraid of the adversity, absolutely being fearful of the adversity, 100% being scared of the adversity, a normal human feeling. But understanding that we're elected to be on the dais to overcome that fear for the betterment of nearly 50,000 people in the city and nearly 300,000 people in the region. Am I wrong? Do you disagree? Where do we go from here? What's left to do? Can it get much worse? If so, how? I'm taken aback. I'm floored. I'm confused, flabbergasted, and frustrated. Frankly, I'm pissed off. I feel emotionally vulnerable. Uncertain. I'm angry. It's so difficult to comprehend how one person in a 300,000 person Central Virginia region can impact the region at this magnitude. From a certain standpoint, I'm almost like, holy crap. Look at what this one person can do. look how the leverage and utilization of racism can drive fear and lack of action from four extremely intelligent, strong leaders on the dais. I see people that I respect. And Counselor Snook, Counselor Hill, Counselor McGill, and certainly Counselor Payne, I have so much respect for you. Sometimes you may not believe it, but I do. You're making $18,000 a year for dealing with this crap. You're making $18,000 a year and probably working 60 hours a week. You're making $18,000 a year, and you are facing a sense of adversity that you never could have possibly anticipated when you put your name on that ballot to run for council. There's no way in hell you expected a pandemic. There's no way in hell you expected a budget that's strapped in utter shambles. There's no way in hell you expected when you ran for office that you would be sitting next to a lightning rod that was as divisive in this community as anyone we have ever seen. But that's what's on your plate. And that's what's before you right now. And you have a couple of choices. You can listen to the taxpayers, the renters, the homeowners, the heads of nonprofits, the business owners. You can listen to your friends and colleagues across Central Virginia who have rolled their sleeves up, who have stood up and have said enough is enough. Or you can choose to do nothing, which to this point, that's what you have done. What more has to happen? Please stop considering your place in history and whether or not you're on the wrong side of it. And please consider your community today. Because we're hurting and we're seeking guidance from you, our elected officials that are expected to be the North Stars and the moral compass, the individuals that are expected to get us out of this storm. That is undoubtedly racism. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Charlottesville's going to be on CNN tonight. CNN. And you have to hear this, okay? It's going to get worse before it gets better. The darkest hour is just before dawn. The toughest times occur right before we find who we are as a community, as friends, family, as colleagues and neighbors. The darkest hour is just before the dawn. The darkest hour is on the near horizon. Please prepare yourself. But when we're in the midst of that dark, dark hour, please realize that dawn and sunshine and finding out who we are is right around the corner. I'm as concerned, as fearful, as uncertain, as angry, frustrated as you. We think about the next generation. We think about our kids and what we're going to leave for them. That's called legacy. My concern is 4 individuals on the dais are more concerned about their legacy and their place in history than doing what is right for this community. Will you be on the right side of history if you censor or strip a title or remove in totality the first black female mayor in Charlottesville history? I don't know. I don't have that answer for you. But enough is enough. We're not even 90 days into 2021, and we've had to deal with financial corruption inside City Hall and the mayor throwing the director of finance under the bus and the mayor leaking internal memos from an acting city attorney. And 45 days later, now we have to deal with sexually violent rhetoric that I can't even mention to my wife without being embarrassed and shamed. Put the petition on screen, please. The petition is circulating social media now. The petition should go viral. Sign the petition. Share the petition. If you think I'm wrong, I can take it. If you think I'm wrong, that's fair. If you think I'm wrong, you can let me know. And many of you have. But in my heart and in my soul, I know what I'm doing is right. And I know true leaders rise to the forefront during times of the greatest adversity. I can't sit back and do nothing. It would be easy to do. It would be easy just to sit here and create content and put shows together that do nothing but showcase incredible nonprofits, incredible agents of positive change, incredible entrepreneurs, incredible breweries, wineries, retail businesses, hiking trails, sporting events, and athletes. Heck, Casey Morcell is transferring from the program that we call UVA basketball, and Sam Hauser has said he's not coming back. Most days, that's the lead of the show. But how can the transfer of a second year at the university compare from a prioritization standpoint to sexually violent rhetoric from the mayor of this community? It can't. It can't. You would see through that. If this week all I did was talk about Fridays after 5 coming back, and Cafe Frank, a fabulous restaurant opening, and the delicious tuna I had at Zocalo on Tuesday night, or the beautiful sunshine that has sprung in Central Virginia, creating this sense of positivity and opportunity because vaccinations are rolling out. If I did nothing but offer perspective and commentary like that, you would see through it and realize I was not being genuine and utilizing these God-given gifts to their truest form. I'm going to close the show with a message to Mayor Nikiah Walker. Mayor Nikiah Walker, I respectfully ask you to resign your position. By close of business today, thousands of people will have signed a petition asking your resignation. I respectfully ask you to resign and to please stop damaging and hurting the Central Virginia region like you're doing. What you're doing is not only impacting the city and 10.2 square miles, but it's impacting 300,000 people in Central Virginia that are associated and tied to the city. Your damage is unmeasurable. From a housing standpoint, when your expectation of perfection becomes the enemy of productivity. Developers, they're just going by right because they know they can't appease your ridiculous standards of affordability. Instead, they choose to go by right with their projects. Mayor Nikiah Walker, in the dog days, in the darkest days of COVID, you made the comment that a business owner can start his or her business over again whenever they want, but we cannot start a human life again that died during a pandemic. Your trivialization of small business ownership was frankly nauseating. It is not a binary situation. We can champion and support healthy standards during a pandemic while also championing and supporting the community of business owners that create the tax revenue for the equality and social justice projects you have pursued. Both can be done. Mayor Nikiah Walker, enough is enough. The community is asking for the resignation. Counselors Lloyd Snook, Heather Hill, Michael Payne, and Sina McGill, the joint statement that's on the near horizon must include proof of performance of what you are going to do. If the joint statement says nothing but, we don't approve this rhetoric as a council, then your joint statement is absolutely worthless and meaningless. Okay? Leadership is it facing adversity head on. We are at a crossroads, at a vulnerable community. And at one direction is more uncertainty, vulnerability, fear, and divisiveness. And on the other side is a community that is yearning to heal and find its new identity. Please, counselors Snook, Hill, Payne, and McGill, help us head to the crossroads of promise and potential and away from the crossroads of destruction and despair. Please. We are counting on you. My name is Jerry Miller. This is the I Love CVille Show.